Howdy everybody. I'm going to go over how to make this jack stand to be used with a floor jack. This doesn't look like a normal jack stand, and the reason why is because I have a vehicle that only has 4 lift points around the outside of the vehicle, and I can't jack it up with a floor jack and put a jack stand beside it because there's no place to put it. It doesn't allow you to do that. So how this works is this piece here detaches, this dark piece, and you set it down on your floor jack, and then you jack this piece up to wherever you want it, and then these pieces slide in from the side, and then you set the height where you want it with these red pieces. All right, so again, I don't know how much this will hold for a load. Like I said, there might be a nice mechanical engineer or structural engineer that'll be able to tell us how much this will withstand. But once I give you the dimensions of this stuff. All right, so the materials I used, I have 2.5 inch and 2 inch square tubing, and they're 1/4 inch thick. And the reason I use those is because the 2 fits in the 2.5 almost perfectly, other than on the 2.5 inch, there's going to be a little weld on the inside. So if you have a 2.5 inch piece like this, there'll be a little weld here where I guess they fuse the metals together. And you can either buy the 2.5 inch for trailers, the trailer receiver. You can buy that at your metal store sometimes. And if you don't, and you get the raw 2.5 inch, 1/4 inch thick stuff, you can use one of these guys. It's just a little belt grinder. This one's driven by air. It's pretty cheap. I don't know where I got it from, probably Amazon. It's a Onyx 3037, and you can just go inside that metal and grind out that little groove or that little weld so this piece slides in there. All right, so let's go over the dimensions of this thing so you guys can build this yourself. So I have a 4 inch round up here on the top and one on the bottom. This fits perfectly in my floor jack, the cup, so that works nice. This here I want to improve a little bit, and maybe I can get your guys' input on that. This piece here is 8 inches from there, and these are 10-degree cuts right here. This angle here is 100 degrees, so if you want 100 degrees there, these 2 cuts here have to be at 40 degrees to get this to give me this slope. And the reason why I have this slope like that is so when you put a load on this thing, it will bind and then make it nice and rigid. All right, so when this thing is down all the way in this position, it's 12 inches. And then I'll show you later, it's 17 inches at its highest spot. If you don't like these dimensions, you can change it for whatever use you have. So let's take this thing apart and we'll go through each one of the pieces and I'll give you the sizes. All right. These pins are 12 millimeter. And from here to this shoulder here is 3 inches. And I don't remember where I got them, but they were very inexpensive. You can use other pins if you like. All right, so we already went over this piece. And the thing I want to ask you guys, this is smooth and I don't like that. I would rather have maybe a lip on here, or just, I can put some welds. It needs to be able so it won't slide. Maybe I could drill a hole in here and put something else on top of it. Maybe curl up the lips, put a little, ledge here. Maybe even expanded metal on the top so it'll grab whatever you're lifting so it doesn't slide around. I had a pickup that had this, it's a Chevy pickup. On the frame, it had this greasy, slimy, waxy black stuff, and you had to be very careful. You had to have fences around your lift point so it wouldn't slide around. All right, let's take this apart. All right, so we've already gone over this piece. And one thing I do want to point out is that when these light gray pieces are in here, there's an inch in between. And the reason I did that is in case I wanted to drill a hole in there and to put another piece on here to have some sort of adapter. I'm not sure that I would do that again, I'd probably have these two gray pieces touching on the inside instead of being like this. They'd be like that, and then drill holes here if I wanted to go that route. That'd give it a little bit more rigidity. All right, so let's go over this piece here. I've got, this is from here to there is 6.5 inches. And from here to there, that is 11.5 inches. These are 40-degree cuts, and that gives me my 100-degree angle there that I wanted, so I have a 10-degree slope. These holes are all 1/2 inch, and they're just barely big enough to set the 12mm pins. 12 millimeters, just a shy less than a 1/2 inch. So from the bottom of this leg up to here is 3 inches, and then 2 inches, and then another 2 inches. So it goes 3, 5, and 7. This one here is 2 inches from the inside. Let's make sure that I know what I'm talking about here. Yep, that's 2 inches. So there's that piece. And then that piece will slide into here. And this hole here is 1.5 inches from the top of this lip. So that's how I made that piece. This piece here, right here is 9 inches from here to there. These are 10-degree cuts. I have a 3x11, 3/16 plate right here on the bottom. And I got 4-inch gussets, and those are 1/4 inch thick. Now, I don't think they need to be a 1/4 inch. It's just what I had here laying around for some scrap. So anyway, that's that piece. We've gone over all the pieces. So I think that's it. Now, the holes here are 1 inch down and then another 1 inch down. So this is at 1 and this is at 2. And the reason why I did that, that allows me on the scrape piece to give me 1 inch increments to set these stands. All right, so let's put it all together at the upper height. So there's that one. So this piece would be up in your jack stand, and then you slide these two pieces in. So this is just my initial prototype. I haven't figured out what loads this will have, but like I said, if there's a sharp engineer out there that can do this pretty easily, that would be pretty cool, and put it in the comments. This is kind of hard to line up in front of the camera. All right, so there we go. There's its upper position, and then this right here, when you put a load on it, it'll spread and be nice and solid. I think that'll work pretty good. So the distance between these two when they're all the way down is 14 inches, and my floor jack is 13 inches, so it'll slide under there very easily. And then as you raise this up, this gets even wider. I think we're probably at 16 inches there. So I think this works pretty good. One thing I want to point out is these two welds right here are probably your most important welds. So when I cut these, I also beveled them down along the edges until I was near the other side. So at least they'd match up so I get them lined up. So the weld would penetrate all the way through, and this would be a solid weld. It wouldn't just be on the surface. Because this is where your biggest stress on this, biggest torsional stress that you're probably going to have on this thing, and probably right in here. One thing you might want to do for yourself, if you want to make them even more solid, because I think they're pretty solid now, this probably weighs a good 50 pounds, would be to buy a 3-inch piece of square tubing 1/4 inch, and then just do like maybe 1/2 inch, and then put it over these edges right here and right there. That would give it a little bit more rigidity and less likely to bend if you put really, really high loads on it. So, comments are welcome. If you have any ideas for different colors, or if you have an idea for this flat plate, what I could put up there to keep it from sliding around, you would appreciate it. And like I said, if someone knows the structures and what loads you can put on this and how to do this math here to figure that out, it'd be appreciated. You know, I learn a lot of stuff off of Facebook, and I learn a lot of stuff off of YouTube. Sorry, I don't learn much off of Facebook. Anyway, this right here, I think would work well, and you might have an application for it. So I thought I would make a video about it so you guys could have a shot at making something like this, and might be used to you. All right, thank you for watching.